Perhaps I'll record episode 11 of Kevin's Corner with my eyes closed since the sun is absolutely blasting now. Welcome to episode 11 of Kevin's Corner. Last week we explored step 3 of part A of the Behaviour Change Framework. Up to this point, we have identified key moments of decision-making along the customer journey, we have understood how customers are behaving in each of those key moments, and we have defined a vision for the ideal future state customer behavior. This week, we move on to step 4 of part A of the Behaviour Change Framework, identifying behavioral principles, or nudges, we can leverage in our experience design. If we just want to understand current customer behavior, we can identify which behavioral principles are currently at play in the experience, which may be causing this current behavior. More often than not, though, we're designing a net new product, service, or feature, so we also want to understand which behavioral principles could help nudge customers toward the ideal future state behavior we've identified in the previous step. Thanks to the many behavioral economists that precede us, there are nearly 200 tried and tested behavioral principles that span a great number of psychological use cases. This list can seem overwhelming when we're trying to choose the right behavioral principle for our experience design, but reviewing the list, sorting it, and doing some research to evaluate fit will help us prioritize the right ones to use for the given scenario. Let's return to our Scotiabank case study to illustrate this 4th step of identifying behavioral nudges we can leverage in our experience design. As a reminder, our key moment of decision-making is customers selecting a mortgage rate option. We know that they currently do this by meeting with a financial advisor face-to-face to discuss their mortgage rate options as a means of educating themselves. As for their future behavior, we want them to be able to do this within eHome, our fully digital mortgage application, without needing to speak to a financial advisor face-to-face. So moving on to step 4, let's try to understand why customers are currently behaving the way that they are. Is there a behavioral principle that perhaps may explain it? In fact, yes, there is. There's a behavioral principle called need for certainty. This principle implies that people crave certainty and are more likely to take action if specific information is available. We know from our primary research that customers felt that this information was really only available to them through their financial advisor. Moving on, in regard to a principle we think we can leverage to nudge customers toward the ideal future state behavior, there's a principle called choice architecture, which states that people's choices can be influenced by the number and manner in which options are presented to them. So perhaps there's a clever way of positioning mortgage rate selection within eHome to positively influence customer behavior. Now that we've identified behavioral principles we can leverage in our experience design, next week we'll be exploring the 5th and final step of part A of the Behaviour Change Framework, ideating and designing for the future state. Thanks for joining, and stay tuned.